now joined by both coaches of the McKinney High School soccer programs. To my far end is Alan Pocock. He's the head coach of the boys team, and Alex Pantarotto is right here next to me. He's the head coach of the girls team. For Alan, we'll start off with you first. District play was tough for you guys. That district was so competitive. You finished fourth in the end in that district play. A lot of ties. You had 5 ties in total on your schedule. What was the reason that there was, so much tight competition in that district?
Well, the boys district, except for Boyd, their last 4 games was always tight. Not a tremendous amount of scoring in that district. If you spread out all these teams in other districts, they're probably champions of nearby districts. But for us personally, a lot of the time we were concentrating more on being a team that would score on set pieces or look to absorb a lot of attack and then counterattack. And unfortunately, last year that was a lot of 1-0 wins or a win by 1 goal with a very experienced back line of seniors and goalkeepers. This year, we went into district, and I'm proud of what the guys did. Out of 20 district games, only lost 4 of them in 2 years combined, and only 1 game to only 1 loss out of 8. Out of 6 to a Plano school, and only 1 loss to Allen. The 2 losses to Boyd as the smallest team in the district, but. The boys, this year, we had to replace our entire defense and then deal with injury to key players in that defense, as well as replace all of our goalkeepers, replace all of our midfielders. So that really only experience we had was our forwards returning, and I think we were fine repeating that tactic with our forwards that were well versed in that. But that includes having to have some game closers. So to speak, from your defense, and we stumbled a few times on that. And although, we had a lot of 1-1 at 4 1-1 matches, that's how close we came to being 1-0 in 4 of those matches.
Right.
And that's a significant accomplishment, I think, for this group.
And talk to me about David Soto, who scored, I believe, 11 goals on the year, and
yeah.
He scored 6 goals of your last 7 games heading into the playoffs. I mean, he was the one scoring all those goals for you almost in the district.
David led the whole district in scoring with 6 goals, more than any other player. I was really concerned if, our tactic isn't that hard to figure out, and was really wondering if we were going to surprise anybody this year in district. And that's, one of the main 3 points going into this year was that, guys, you understand, there's no surprising anybody. We talked about that the first time we got together when you were asking about a district prediction. And the inability to surprise anyone means most coaches are saying, they got a whole 3 returners, and one of them is their leading goal scorer. So what are we going to do about that? And, I know the coaches in our district prepared very well for that and thought that David would be shut down. And quite honestly, he was even more productive than last year. Especially with, it's only his 2nd year on a varsity team. Would love to have had him all 4 years on varsity. But we're very proud of what he did this year in district in keeping us in games with his scoring, which very often would have been scary for him to get shut out, given that there's just such a grind getting through. It's like World War III every night on the battlefield with these district opponents. Numbers-wise, the biggest district in the state, and yet we were basically operating with 4A numbers in there. And the guys did more than just keep it competitive. They regional tournament last year, and 2 years in a row in playoffs. In fact, with 2 games to go this season, even we still had a chance at a district championship. And the way things fell, those last 2 games, we had dropped to 4th. But again, to wrap up a district spot with 3 games left was a tremendous accomplishment given what we had to work with this year.
It really was. You finished 4th in district, as well as Alex, your team finished tied for 4th, and you had to win that play-in game against Plano to get into the playoffs. And this all of a sudden, just gave your team the little belief, and they went on this huge run all the way to the regional finals this year in the playoffs. Going into the season, I know in our first interview you were telling me the teams, Tyler, I think are going to be good this year are Saxe and McKinney Boy. They're going to be really good. Was that, a little bit of mind games? Is that how you kind of thought? Because Boyd ends up knocking off Saxe, and then you end up knocking Boyd off in the third round of the playoffs.
Well, I'm glad that's the way it happened. Well, I share a lot of things that Alan was saying about the quality of teams on this district. I mean, we have on the girls' side 4 past state champions, so it's difficult when you add Allen into the mix and trying to make the playoffs. They already knew what we were capable of doing last year, so I thought they were going to be a little bit more prepared against us, and we talked about that in the past interview. But the girls, something that happened off the field made these girls believe on themselves, and I think the Plano game was a game that kind of told them, hey, we're able to do this. We're able to be competitive again. And throughout the season, we have 6 key injuries that kept us on that fifth spot, and that was tough because as a coach, you're saying, oh, I gotta go to my bench now, and next man up. And to tell you the truth, I'm so proud of these girls, and the girls that stepped in and covered for somebody else, and they did a tremendous job allowing us to qualify for playoffs.
We're going to go ahead and take a look at the highlights from your playoff wins that you've had, and there's some good action there. You were either down or tied at halftime in all of these games. You really had great second halves. Let's go ahead and talk about the Boyd game, because that was the big game for you. The crosstown rivalry ends up being a shootout in the end. You had that goal that was scored with 5 seconds left by Boyd in the first half to make you trail 2-1 at halftime. How much character did it show for your team after that devastating goal they allowed right before halftime to come back and get that goal in the second half and then to win in penalty kicks?
Yes, that was quite a challenge for the coaching staff, because we needed to go into the locker room and say we're okay. And the fact that in girls soccer, most goals are being scored with a win. And we had the win in the second half, and I knew that these girls will come back. We have 40 minutes. I told them, hey, it's just 40 minutes from this trip, and what is it going to be? And the girls responded in a very challenging way, because I thought that we got to a point into the second half where I saw the Boyd defense being shaky, and they were just trying to get rid of the ball. And I said, okay, this is a good opportunity for us to turn around this game, and it happened, And then in PKs, there are no words to describe what Shover has been for us throughout the season. I think Madeline has been such an instrumental part for us. And I just, I knew the other coach or the other coaches were not happy to see Shover there on goal, because she made some incredible saves this year. And to me, without a doubt, was the best keeper in the district.
You go to the regional tournament then, and you play Humboldt-Keenwood. That was the team that knocked both you and Boyd out last year, leaving that regional tournament. And you get the game-winning goal against Keenwood. It was a 2-1 final. You get that goal with under 2 minutes left in the game. That was another dramatic game there at the end.
Oh my goodness, it was tough. But when we tied the game, with Devon's free kick, I just thought that, okay, we're going to go through the same scenario again that we had against Boyd. I thought after we scored that goal with the wind behind us, it was gonna help us. And Vianney Sanchez took a tremendous shot from out of the box, left foot, upper 90. I don't think the goalie, I know she reacted, but it was too late. And in fact, we can probably see it right now.
Yeah, it's coming up next.
It's coming out right here out of a corner kick. Actually, the goalkeeper was the first time she touched the ball on a cross. and here's Vianney shooting from outside the box, and I thought it was a tremendous goal. It showed a lot of character on the girls to hang in there. But we had a plan, and the plan worked very well for us.
And while you have this playoff run to the regional final, Alan, your team who got to the regional tournament last year, you get knocked out in the first round by Lake Highlands team, but they end up being a regional finalist, losing to your district foe, McKinney Boyd. And so it's kind of one of those situations where it looks like the season wasn't as good as last year, but you were maybe one team away, get by Lake Highlands, you might be in that regional final.
Yeah, well, we knew it was going to be a much more challenging year this year to make playoffs. But you know, one thing I think that motivated them to hang in there through some tough injury losses and having kind of jostle our roster around was, hey guys, you know, this would be our 10th playoff year in a row. Do you want to achieve that? And regardless of where we fall, I mean, to be honest with you, except for being district champion, as far as our bi-district matchup, second, third, and fourth place is a complete toss-up. I mean, who do you want to play? Jesuit, Pierce, Lake Highlands?
Right.
I mean, pick your poison. Doesn't really matter. It's going to be the toughest matchup we've had by district since I started, 22 years ago and faced Arlington Martin as the last seed in playoffs against the champion of that district. But hey, the boys shook off, losing their last two district games, and we wanted to thank goodness for the extra rest and recovery. I was a little ticked off we didn't have that little bye night right in the middle of first round and second round district like last year, but it paid off as far as getting everyone healthy, and we were able to have Andres and Jason to prepare for that Lake Highlands games as far as recovery, as well as a few other players that had picked up some knocks. So, we had everybody for that game. A number of them were hobbled, but for them to shift gears to playoff mode, turn the page, and now we're into the third part of the season playoffs. And okay, what do we got to do to win this game? Yes, they were motivated by last year's accomplishments of getting to the regional tournament, but it was just so significantly more challenging. I mean, this was probably, as far as difficulty level, it looked like getting ready for a regional championship. But needed the boys just to make sure they understood how difficult and challenging it was going to be if they did not stay disciplined and committed to their roles. And we rehearsed and talked about players and matchups and dealing with Osborne and dealing with Mills and their other top goal scorer. And the boys, I just applaud them. Yes, it was disappointing to lose, but sometimes even though you lose, I mean, I think you'd agree with the regional championship game. Sometimes when you lose, you still feel like you accomplished a lot just with that result. And I was sad for the seniors and ending the game, and there were some tears there among the seniors. But for what they accomplished in keeping that game close and winnable for us, 1-0 loss, sure, but we were trying to create a game that would be a 1-0 game. And we had 4 or 5 great opportunities on corners and free kicks like we were trying to create, and then a breakaway to tie the game with 5 minutes left that didn't go our way. But that made me very happy for the accomplishments of the guys and to punctuate their season with that kind of a showing. Disappointed to lose, but very much an exciting match.
And Alex, you guys lost to Plano West in the regional final, 1-0. They scored a goal in the second half. It was a game that you knew going in you had to be defensive-minded, that you're going to have to play a spectacular defensive game again. Was it just a case of Plano West just had too many weapons in the end?
Yes, I think so, and I think, of course, they have twice as many students in their school that McKinney High School has. So we're fighting not only against numbers, but we're fighting against experience. Some of them, they won the last 2 state championships. We also had a plan, but I think our tank was empty by then. I really thought that the girls fought to the end. In fact, I think they all knew that we did beyond what was expected, and so I think at the end we were at peace in saying that we us Lionettes work very hard for every single ball, for everything that we threw at them, and they're very happy to the fact that they got to the final.
I have two quick questions for you guys before you leave. First, quick thoughts on the new district. Obviously, you're dropping. Well, really, you're staying in 10-5A. That's the district. It's kind of that weird situation with this new 6A. But North is going to be in your district now. Also have strong programs from the Wiley schools in Lovejoy and Prosper being in there. Quick thoughts on the district, both of you.
Well, on the girls' side, Wiley is going to state. So that shows already we have a good competitor. North is always going to be a good competitor. I thought Prosper also winning district this year is going to be another one that is going to be tough. So here we go again. It really doesn't Lovejoy. So it really another playoff team, So we're going to be fighting for a playoff spot again. But we have some experience now. These players have an experience of going through a grinding district and going through playoffs. And I think the fact that we're not going to see boys, that's a good thing too.
Mm-hmm. And Alan, I'll go ahead and ask you this. Both of your teams, the girls and guys teams at McKinney, you guys do such a great job at defense. I know, Alan, I saw your team, except for that McKinney-Boyd game where he lost 3-1, didn't give up more than 2 goals at all in a game this year, and that only happened, I think, 4 or 5 times. So you both hold opponents to either 1 or 0 goals. Why is defense so much a part of McKinney High School soccer for both teams?
Well, it's the second year in a row, and next year will be the third year in a row that we had to completely start over as far as who's on the field with such turnover. We're losing 14 seniors this year. And with next year being, it's still a challenging district, if it's the merging of 3 districts and only 1 team in the merging of those 3 districts didn't make playoffs. And Lovejoy 3 years ago knocked us out in the 4th round as a 3A team. Prosper had a breakout season, and to me, you've got to first start from, I think we both agree on this, we preach, start with a foundation of a strong defense, or else you have nothing you're basing the rest of your house on. So a lot of times that carries through until you finally, now let's build off of that to make sure we're combining well through our midfield and forwards. But sometimes you do have those players that come up out of JV or move in or foreign exchange, whatever, that just show up and are special enough players that it makes a huge difference. And I think that a lot of times in a district that's more the size of what we have next year, one player can make an enormous difference in whether you're scoring a lot of goals or not. Whereas in the district we've been in for 2 years now, it takes more than just one player. And I'm a former goalkeeper also. I think that naturally is just going to make me defensive minded. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong in a soccer game. You can get shut out by anybody on any given night, and we try to at least create a scenario where we could win on any given night. But we don't, hopefully, we shut out the opponent. Yes, last year we had more shutouts than this year's 4 shutouts, but there's got to be a solid foundation to build the rest of that on. So that's why I really start by emphasizing
Makes sense.
Our defense. Guys,
terrific year for both of your teams. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today on Sports Talk. Really appreciate it, as always. A big thanks again to all the coaches for coming by to talk with us today. The state soccer tournament starts Thursday in Georgetown with McKinney-Boyd facing defending boys 5A state champions Coppell in the semifinal at 4 in the afternoon. If Boyd wins, they'll play Saturday afternoon at 1 for the 5A state title. Next week, the softball coaches are in studio to talk about their district play, and we'll find out just how many teams claim to playoff slot. Until then, from all of us here at Sports Talk, I'm Tyler Sloan. Have a fantastic week.